G'day guys, Seb here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm just about to make a really small mod from an idea that I had the other day, and I figured why don't I film it? It's gonna help me get more confident speaking into the microphone for my tutorials. And to be honest, when I was first starting out and learning, just watching people during their live streams, like Sacrificial, just watching them code was actually really helpful for me. So this isn't necessarily a tutorial, but this is just a very casual mod with me. And hopefully you pick up a few things. If not, then hopefully you just get a little more comfortable with the code, because something I hear over and over again is I open up the code and it's just so overwhelming for me, and I just get stressed and I exit out because I don't know what I'm doing. And which is totally understandable. I was like that at first as well. I've been very open about the fact that I started in Mod Constructor, which is it's not anything like Sims 4 Studio. You don't really see any of the code in that. So once I was pretty much forced into Sims 4 Studio because I had to update my mod. And yeah, it was very overwhelming, and it was very much trial by fire, and I don't want anyone else to experience that if they don't have to, which is why I'm making all of these. So yeah, hopefully, yeah, this is just a casual and fun video and you learn a little bit, or at least you just get more comfortable with the code and Sims 4 Studio. Yeah, I hope you enjoy. So I'm just gonna go over pretty much what I'm gonna do today. I don't always make these sort of lists planning everything out, but these are actually really helpful for just knowing what you're going to do, because there are so many times I've started something and I haven't written out and it's just been in my head, and then halfway through I've just forgotten what I wanted to do. So these are always really helpful to make. So I'm just going to explain what I plan to make first of all. It's basically a mod, Powder Wigs mod from what's the time period, like Versailles, kind of 17th century. Oh, I don't know. Some people are gonna come for me for not knowing that, but yeah, basically it'll be like a wig stand object in game, and your sim will be able to click on it, and they'll be able to put a wig on, one of those big fancy powdered wigs. And basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna export the hair from the Get Famous pack, and then we're gonna export an object. It'll be a stand-in object at first, because I'll make the actual wig stand off camera, because that's boring. And then we will add the object tuning to the wig stand, and then the interaction to the object tuning, so we can actually put on the wig, and the interaction will have the loot, which will be a buff with an appearance modifier, and the appearance modifier is telling the game, hey, I've got this buff with this appearance modifier in it, I want this wig to be placed on the sim's head. And that's pretty much it. This is like the absolute bare bones of the mod. Like, I'll probably go back and make some more moodlets that you can actually see in games while they're wearing the wigs and stuff, and maybe a few more interactions, but for now, this is just it. This is the absolute bare bones, and we don't want to stress ourselves out with any unnecessary extras right now. Okay, so getting started, I'm actually just going to make an empty package, and I'm going to make a string table for it, just so I have that completely out of the way and done. So alright, so I have actually gone over on TikTok how to make a string table, so if you want a more in-depth how-to for an actual tutorial, then I will link that below. Basically, just hash generator and type in, it would help if I clicked on it, powder wigs, strings, English. And you absolutely don't want these two first letters in this, because if we come here to add, and then come down to find string tables, string table, we want to keep these first two zeros, because that is the game's way of being able to tell that it's an English string table. Okay, and that's done. These are just like annoying little things that you have to set up in order for your mod to work, and I actually just prefer having the string table right at the top of the list, because there will be way more just little things here the more we make the mod. So yeah, okay, so I'm gonna actually say I've saved already, yeah, and come back out, and I want to export the hair that I want to use, so I'm gonna just come in here to cast, and I am, oh hurry up, Jesus, sorry, gonna come here to get famous, so I just don't have to scroll through loads and loads of shit, which I'm probably gonna have to do anyway. Actually, I'm gonna, yeah, hair type. Okay, cool. I think these are down by the bottom. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna use this one for now. Off camera, I will add all of the rest of the swatches, because I will need to do that, unfortunately, in different interactions for each room. But I'm probably gonna add these as well, and also the male version of these hairs and the female version of these male hairs as well. So I've got that selected. So I'm going to come in here, because I'm going to have so many different files for this. When I upload it, I will just compile it all into one file, but for now it's fine as loose files. Powder wigs hair. I'm just going to name it that for now. I can always go back and change that. Okay, awesome. I am actually also going to come up here and save as, and I'm going to save this in this folder here. Just going to save that same name. I'm doing that because I want to export all of this, but I don't want to do it manually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Shift Control C for the cheat console of Sims 4 Studio, and I'm going to type studio.export all, and that will export this all to wherever this is saved. It's going to export all of the maps and all of the meshes. Okay, so that's done now. You can see this is the desktop area that I saved this to, and now I have this folder here called resources, and this is just literally all of the mesh and all of the maps, which is really handy. I didn't have to do that by hand. So I'm gonna exit out of that. You may be wondering why I'm exporting all of this, and this is because I want this mod to be base game compatible, and this here is from Get Famous. You can see the little icon over there. So if I didn't extract and put this all into a base game compatible package, the mod would require Get Famous to work, which I don't want. So I'm actually gonna come back out, go back into cast, and I'm going to find a base game compatible hair. Scroll up. This will probably be fine. It doesn't really matter. They all have the same cuts and everything anyway. And I'm going to come back into my mods folder, and I'm just going to save over this, because I don't need that anymore. That was just my resources file. So I'm going to come into here and import the mesh. Okay, so that's imported in now. You can see it has the texture of the other hair. We haven't changed that yet, but I'm just going to do all of the LODs real quick. LOD stands for level of detail, by the way, if you didn't know that. Basically, the further you zoom out, it basically switches between these three, and it just gets lower and lower poly the more you zoom out, because you don't need that level of detail, and it just saves on memory for the game. So for an example, we're back on LOD 0, LOD 0. This is almost 9,000 poly, and I've imported LOD 1, and this is a lot less. This is almost 6,000. So LOD 2 is almost 4,000, and LOD 3 is just under 3,000. So the furthest you get away, it'll be 3,000 poly. and the closer you are, it'll be almost 9,000. So back here in texture, I'm going to import the diffuse texture, which is basically just all of the color and shadows. Perfect. The shadow map, the spec, and the normal. Okay, awesome. That's pretty much all we need to do. I just like to get rid of allow for random because I find that really annoying. Basically, if you have that checked, then it means Sims who spawn randomly in the game may spawn in with this hair, which I'm sure you've seen some very questionable outfits in The Sims, and that's because it has allow for random on. So I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to come back out here for now to main menu, and now I'm going to find just a base object to work off for now. I usually use this one. I don't know why, I just always use that one. And I'm going to save this in my mods folder as the object. This is the stand-in for the wig stand. So powder wigs, stand, object. Okay, so for now I'm just going to remove all of these swatches, and I'm going to give it a custom name. I usually just put LN so I can search that in the catalog and it's just quicker to find. For now, this is all I want to do, so I'm just going to save, and I'm actually going to come right back out into the actual mod itself. So as you can see, we've exported the hair already, and we've made a stand-in object for this wig stand itself. So now we want to get onto the object tuning. Back in our mod, we want to come up to tools and extract tuning, and we want to find object tuning, which is fairly simple. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Sculpture would be fine, honestly, which I think is what our object already has. So I'm just going to search sculpture. I'm just going to use object underscore sculpture, and I'm going to add it to the package. Cool. So I'm just going to have a look through this. We won't touch any of this. I hardly ever do. One thing I might get rid of is the pre-roll super affordance. Super affordance is just the interactions that are available on the object itself. So obviously you can see here that this interaction is able to be possessed by a ghost, and also a pet ghost. And you're able to dust it for prints and everything. So I'm just going to get rid of this for now. Well, not for now, completely. I'm also going to get rid of the environment score trait modifier. Basically, this means if the sim has the muser traits, they will they'll be put in an inspired mood by this object, which for a wig stand I don't really want, so that can go away. Okay. Yep, cool. So, actually no, I'm gonna delete all of the interactions that I don't want, which will be, just trying to think if I want any of these to work on as a base, which I don't think I do. No, I don't. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all of these. So these are all of the views, depending on what mood the sim is in. I don't want them to gather inspiration or study it. I'll leave the toddler one because that's just them looking at it. I don't want these, obviously. And I don't want this one or this one. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to come back up here to data, and I'm going to make this into custom tuning, because right now if I left it as this would completely override the EA object. So whatever objects in game have this tuning, which are quite a lot, so I definitely don't want to override that. So I'm going to put LN, short for Lazy Neef. Yes, that is how you pronounce my name, which no one knows how to pronounce. Colon, which is extremely important. I will actually show you. See, if I put an underscore and I just said, okay, this is my new name, and I pressed enter, nothing happens except it changes the name. But if I do a colon, it changes the tuning ID to a custom tuning ID and the instance as well. So that's exactly what we want, because if you just change the name and you don't put the colon in there and it doesn't change the tuning ID or the instance, it will still override all of the objects in game which had the object sculpture tuning, which again, we really don't want that. So I'm going to name this properly. Object wig stand. I could actually just put the mod name in there as well. Powder wigs underscore wig stand. Awesome. I'm going to save. And I'm just going to copy this name. And I'm going to come back out of this file really quickly. And I'm going to go back into the wig stand object. And I'm going to come up here to warehouse. And go to object definition. And see, this is what I was talking about. It has the tuning of the object sculpture. And I'm going to replace the name with my new one, and it will automatically update the tuning ID. So now this object uses our custom tuning instead of the EA one. I'm going to save, and I'm not going to come back to this for a while until I want to update the model. Cool. So back in here, just have a look through this again. These are just the states of the object. So a good way to describe that would be the fire state. If it's, it has the opportunity to catch fire, and once it does catch fire, it changes state into basically a broken state because it's burnt to a crisp, pretty much. It's been incinerated. So it's either not on fire, it's either on fire, it's either has been on fire, that's what I meant by that, or it is either currently on fire. So, and its default value, so the one it defaults to is not on fire, because obviously you wouldn't want it to always be at the state where it is currently on fire if it is not, or it has been completely incinerated. You don't want that to be the default state for this object. Yeah, another example here is, has it been stolen or not? The default value for this object is it hasn't been stolen. If it has, then it will switch to it has been stolen. So these are the options. Each key is an option for what it can be set to. So either not stolen or stolen, and then the default value is what it is usually set to, just by default, which is not stolen. Okay, so I'm going to think of a base interaction in game that I can use in order for the sim to walk up to the object, basically grab the wig, and run the loot in order to get the buff, which has the appearance modifier in it, which puts the wig on their head. Honestly, I think just the grab interaction in game would be fine for this. I know you can grab food, and that's definitely not the interaction I want because it has a bunch of code in it that I don't want, but I'm just going to search grab anyway. I think there's grab generic. Nope. This is what a lot of modding is. It's just looking and finding out if something doesn't exist that you thought existed and just getting annoyed over and over again. Okay, so just for an example of why I didn't want a grab food interaction is because it's actually a grab serving interaction, and I don't want that at all because I'm grabbing a wig. I'm not grabbing a serving of food, so I don't want this interaction. I just want a super interaction by itself. So I'm going to delete this and find an interaction that works. Okay, so I've just changed my search to pick up instead. I'm going to see if this super interaction sockable pickup works for me. Okay, so this is a super interaction, which is great. It's not a grab serving super interaction. I'm just going to close down these basic extras because that's just a lot of code which is confusing to look at right now that we don't need to worry about. So the outcome, I prefer to work with single outcomes, which is basically the outcome only has one possible ending. As you can see, this outcome is test based, which means it has this outcome, but that will only proceed if they meet all of, well, these are the potential outcomes. They will only continue on if they meet the tested requirements, which is they have the soccer ball in their inventory and stuff. So I am going to use this because this will be a great way for me to show how to use the online Tdesk browser to create snippets of code for you to use. I'm going to create the outcome in the Tdesk browser. So if I just come up here and expand basic extras, these are basically it's a new likes and dislikes. That's not what basic extras is, but they go in the basic extras category. This one is obviously it's a soccer ball interaction, so your sim will be prompted to be asked if they like or dislike fitness. If you haven't already chosen that they like fitness or they don't like fitness. So this is what this test is. It's testing if the sim has the trait likes fitness. Oh, sorry, this is dislikes fitness, and this is likes fitness. If they have the trait already, then this won't show up because you don't need to be asked again if they like or dislike it. But I'm just going to completely delete these. And these are the adventure moments. These are the pop-ups that ask you if you like or dislike them. So I'm going to delete that as well. I don't need this part. In fact, I don't actually need any of the basic extras for this, so I'm just going to delete the entire thing. Okay, so I've just come down here to the bottom of the interaction to this test globals part. And this is basically, these are all the tests that the sim has to pass in order to be able to use this interaction. So they must be a teen or a young adult or an adult, elder or a child in order to run this interaction. They are not allowed to be an NPC, which I don't actually want this, so I'm going to delete that. I'm also going to delete the child from this because if I let children interact with this, they're going to try and put on this wig which is made for the adult head, and it's either it's going to look really stupid or it's not going to work at all. And I'm also going to delete this user running interaction. So this is basically test for not running. So if the sim is performing any of these interactions currently, which is already playing with the soccer ball or juggling with it and stuff, then this interaction will not show up. So I obviously don't want that, so I'm going to delete it. And what's this? Okay, yeah. So before I go any further with this, I am going to make it custom. You don't need to delete the group, I have learnt, but EA suggests to. This is just a further preventative measure in order to prevent conflicts. 8000 blah blah blah. Basically is the custom group number, which I put most things at. So I'm just going to rename this. : very important. Powder Wigs, if I can spell. And pickup is fine for now. I might just say put on. Okay, so this is giving us a custom tuning ID. I'm going to copy this and this, and I'm going to come back to my object tuning, scroll down to the super affordances. I'm going to copy one of these and paste it underneath, because this is adding a new interaction to the super affordances to the object. and I'm going to come here. This is the ID I just copied, and I'm also just going to put the name on there. These green pieces of text that are in this like exclamation mark little area, these are just notes. The game doesn't read these at all. So anything that is in between this, I can't remember what the symbol is called, sorry. Anything that's in between that, these two dash marks and the exclamation mark and everything, the game will just not read. This is purely for us. So if we didn't have any of these, this would just be a random string. We wouldn't know what any of these interactions were. So we always want to just put a little note of what the name is next to it. So we just don't forget, really, because if you've made anything in Mod Constructor, and I learned this the hard way, it doesn't add these notes on unless you put them in yourself in Mod Constructor. Yeah, and you just end up with these giant files just full of numbers that you have no idea what they're referring to, and it's just the worst thing ever. So definitely use these notes. They're extremely handy. Okay, so now this interaction is on our custom object. We can go back to the interaction. I'm going to rename this really quick. So this is the name here, display name. I'm just going to call this for now. I may change this eventually on mod release, just for ease of reading and everything, but I will just call this put on wig. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to come back to the hash generator, and I'm going to delete these parts. Interaction put on wig. I'm going to put 01 for now because I'm going to be adding more interactions off camera, and I just want a fair few, so I don't want to be using the same text for every single one because it will conflict, and it will also just put on wig, and it won't say put on wig green or put on wig blue, which I may do off screen. So sorry, I just completely glazed past that. I just pasted that into the display name. You always want this 0x here because this stands for English. I'm going to come back to the string table, edit items. I'm going to add. I'm going to put the string of numbers and the key and whatever words I want in the value. So there we go. Press save. And now, okay, so I've just noticed that I'm not sure what animation this plays. So I'm actually going to take this as an opportunity to open Tdesk browser and just create an animation for this. Sorry, an animation reference. I'm definitely not creating an animation for this. If you know me, I hate animating. So I'm just going to open Tdesk browser. Okay, so I've got this open. This is a fantastic resource. I use this constantly. Yeah, and you can basically either just look up definitions of stuff. Tdesk browser is tuning description browser, and this is the builder part of it. You can come in to either the tuning description mode or the building mode, and the building mode is what I always use because it allows you to build your own pieces of code. So I'm actually just going to come up here to search, and I'm going to search super interaction. I'm going to click on this. This might take a while to load. Okay, so I already know that the piece of code I want is in the basic content part of this code. So I'm going to come back to the Tdesk browser, and I'm going to find basic content. The way this works is I think all of the most used parts of the code are right at the top, or the most important, and then it just switches to alphabetical. So B for basic content, which is here, These all have like little tooltips, which is really handy, which tells you what they're doing. I just want a one shot. This is just, it plays the animation once, and that's all I want. And I want to come down here to animation ref. Oh my god, go away. And I'm going to click select reference. I'm just going to search, what was it, pickup or grab? Generic pickup. And that will add it there for me. So I've got this basic content here now, and what I want to do, sorry, I should, yeah, there we go. I just want to click on basic content, and this is the example it's given me. This is my piece of code. I'm just going to come here and click copy. And now I have that lovely piece of code. So back in Sims 4 Studio, I'm just going to replace this entire thing with my new piece of code. And now the Sims will perform this generic pickup animation whenever they play this interaction. And I'm going to come back to TDesk browser and do exactly the same thing with the outcome. So back in TDesk browser, I'm going to actually just get rid of that for now. And I'm going to come down to outcome. Outcome right here. I'm going to choose single. You can explore and see what everything else does. I use single a lot, unless I want something that is, test based. But yeah, I mainly just use single. I'm gonna come down here to actions, and you can do a whole bunch of things. An outcome is obviously the outcome of the interaction. So this happens whenever the sim finishes the interaction. So you could make them play a little animation at the end. You could make them consume, technically, the object that they're interacting with. You could play another interaction after they're done. So a good example of this would be if I wanted them to put on the wig and then go perform a workout interaction in the wig, I could put that in the continuation and they would go do push-ups or something. That was a really bad way to explain that, but I hope you understand that. What I want is a loot list. So I'm going to click here. And I don't have the loot made yet, so I'm just going to temporarily leave this. I'm going to make the loot in Sims 4 Studio, and then I'll come back and add it to this. So back in Sims 4 Studio, I want to loot a buff. So what I'm going to do is just come up here to tuning. I'm just going to type buff, and the loots always show up at the top because they're an action, and this goes in alphabetical order. So I'm just going to get this one, dream big. Yeah, I will. Okay, so as you can see in this loot, it applies a buff. I explained this in my previous video, which I'm not sure if is uploaded yet, because it's part of the tutorials I'm making, so it might not be uploaded yet. So a loot is basically a giving or a taking away action. So this loot action will be giving us a buff, which is great. I'm just gonna make this custom. Okay, awesome. So now I can copy these and go back to TDesk browser and put them in that loot list. And I'm going to create one of those notes in here and put our name in, and I'm going to close the note, and that just makes it a little easier for me. So this is basically all I want my outcome to do for this. So I can come back up here and click on outcome and just copy this. Go back to my interaction and scroll down to the outcome. I'm going to collapse all of this. It makes it easier for me. Delete it and paste our new outcome in there. Very simple. Okay, so our object is done, our interaction is done, our loot is almost done. We still need to make the buff that is going to apply the wig as an interaction, as an appearance modifier. So that's what we'll do now. I have a feeling this is a visible buff, which I don't want. I will just check that. Oh, no, never mind, it's not. Which is cool. So we can use this because I want this to be hidden. I do not want their player to be able to see this. So this has a bunch of stuff in it that I don't want. Temporary commodity info is basically just a timer. So this buff only lasts for 15 in-game seconds, which I don't want. I want this to last until the sim takes the wig off. Basically the player directs the sim to take the wig off. And I do not want a loot on removal, and I do not want a loot on interaction that I can think of yet. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this as this for now. I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to do something slightly different. When I rename this, you might have noticed this imported 2 of what looks like the same object. It's the same piece of tuning, sorry, but it's absolutely not. These are buffs, traits, some commodities. They come with sim data, which is, I don't know enough really to speak about them, but you need to match these up, and I will show you how to do that now. So I'm just going to make this a custom group. And rename it buff object wig stand wig appearance modifier. Okay, so you'll notice that the sim data didn't change, and if I just left this as is, this would cause a whole bunch of issues with the UI in game. If you've ever had buffs just show up as little blank blue boxes, sim data can often be the cause of that, and obviously that makes the game unplayable, so we really don't want that. So I'm going to copy the name, and I'm going to copy the instance code up here, because that's what we want to match. We want these 2 numbers to match. I'm going to come to the sim data, and I'm going to paste that instance code that I just copied in there. And that would be fine. You don't have to technically rename this, but I like to just for continuancy's sake. Is that a word? I have no idea, but it just makes it easier to read for me personally, so I always rename them. And because this is hidden, it doesn't have a name, so we don't need to update the name in here or in here. Yeah, I'm just going to save real quick. Remember to save often, because there is literally nothing worse than doing a bunch of work and not saving, and then your computer just imploding and Sims 4 Studio crashing. I've had that before, and it's just genuinely horrible. So I'm going to come up here to tuning ID, and I'm going to go back to the loot, and we're going to tell the loot, hey, this is the buff that I want you to apply to the sim. Okay, so since this loot is in the outcome of our interaction, this loot will play at the end of the interaction, and it will add the buff that we've just made to the sim. Obviously, there's nothing in this buff right now, so if we did that, nothing would happen. So we're going to make an appearance modifier in... Okay, so back in the T-Desk browser, I'm going to come up here and type buff. Okay, so now we're in T-Desk browser. I'm going to come up to appearance modifier, and I'm going to click enable. And basically, there's a whole bunch of things you can do for this. You can apply to all outfits, which... do I want to do that for this? I think I want to do that for this because the player can always remove the wig via the object if they want to, but I don't want them to have to put on the wig every single time they change the outfit if they don't want to do that, you know? So, and that also actually would add more realism to the mod. Basically, if you change into your pajamas, you're still going to have the wig on because you haven't taken it off yet, right? So you need to go and take the wig off before you go to bed. So it's just a little more realism as well. So what we're going to be using is this appearance modifier. And we're going to set the cast part. Click that. just expand all of these, and this is what we want, the cast part right here, but we don't have the cast part for it yet, so we need to actually go back into our wig and grab the instance code for that and translate it into a decimal, because that's how the game reads cast parts. So make sure this is saved, go back into the wig, yep, awesome, this is the base game wig, and we want this cast part right here. If you have different swatches, there will be different instance codes for each of the swatches. So if I had a grey version, I would want to put the decimal code for the grey version into the loot for the grey version, and if I had a blue version, I would want to use a decimal code from the cast part for the blue swatch, and I would want to use that, not the grey version. So you would have to go through individually each cast part and translate it into a decimal and put that into a different interaction if you wanted to be able to put on different colours of hair. So I'm going to scroll down until I find the key, which is right here, and I want to copy this instance. But we can't just put this instance into the cast part modifier because the game won't read that. The game only reads decimal numbers, so, well, for this they do, sorry. What I want to do is put this instance that I've just copied into hexadecimal, and this is our decimal code. And this is what we want to use for our cast part. Just copy that and, go back into TDES browser. And this is where we'll paste that decimal code. I'm also going to make a note of what it is for myself. Grey swatch. And we are going to apply it to all outfits, yep. I'm also going to put remove conflicting on this, so it removes any hair that's already there, or it might remove hats or anything like that. It should be fine for now. If I need to remove it, then I will. That's something that I'll just have to test. So I want to grab this appearance modifier up here, sorry, and this is all of the code that I want. I'm going to copy that, and I don't need to save this, so I'm going to come back into the code, into the buff, and I'm going to paste this right in here. So now, basically, whenever a sim interacts with the wig stand and they use our custom interaction, they will, which is this one, sorry, the super interaction, they will put on the wig, and at the end of the interaction, they will get this loot action, which tells the game, hey, I want to put this buff on this sim, which is this buff. So this buff gets applied, and inside this buff is basically telling the game, if this sim has this buff, I'm going to change their appearance. I'm going to put this hair on them, which is basically how the mod works. So I think we're all ready for testing, but I'm just going to do a mental run through first to make sure that there is nothing that I've missed. So we've made the custom object tuning, which is this piece of code, and we've referenced this custom piece of tuning inside our object, and we've saved that. So now our object uses this piece of code, and inside this we have our interaction to put the wig on, and inside this we have our loot, what we want to happen at the end of the interaction, and inside this we have the buff that we want to be applied to our sim once they interact with this object, and inside this buff is the hair that we want to put on our sim. So this should work all fine, and I'm just going to hop in game and test this out now. Okay, I'm back now and I'm in game. More importantly, I have coffee, even more coffee. If that's my one piece of advice, honestly, to anyone who wants to get into modding, learn to like coffee. It'll help. Anyway, yeah, we're in game. I'm going to go into build mode to grab our object, and I'll be able to search this, and it'll be much easier for me because I named it properly. Well, not properly, but you know. Am I stupid? Can I... Where is it? Okay. That was helpful, thank you, Sims. Jesus. Okay. So, hopefully... This doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Okay, so I didn't see this part of the code. This is why you should just, like, read the code, because a lot of it is fairly easy to understand. See, this is the part of why I can't use it, because it says allow user directed false, and obviously I want to be able to have this available to users, so I'm going to delete this. I'm also going to delete allow from sim inventory. That was actually a really good opportunity to show you guys that, and yeah, just make sure you read the code properly. Yeah, I'm gonna go back in game, and hopefully it actually works this time. Okay, I'm once again back in game. I'm sadly fully down a coffee now, but anyway, hey, look at that. It actually works now, so go and do it. Hey! Oh, Christ. Yeah, so as you can see, there is an issue with what looks to be... I would say that's a shadow map, but I actually think that's conflicting with another part of what she's wearing. So that's obviously something I'm going to need to fix. But it's awesome that it works so far. One thing I was just thinking about is the fact that anyone can come and put on this wig, you know, besides children, because I already put that in the tests. But if a male sim was to come along and put on this wig, this wouldn't fit properly to his head. So we need to put a test on our interaction that says only female sims can use this interaction. Obviously I'll make another interaction specifically for males. So this mod's going to have a lot of interactions, which I will show at the end. But yeah. Also, I just want to say this was a CAS randomized sim, so don't at me about how how she looks. Yeah. Okay, so once again back in the test globals of the interaction, we are going to go back to the Tdesk browser to create our test for this, and we are going to put a test on this that basically just says only female sims can use this, or sims that have a female frame. That's probably a better one to use. So I'm going to come back here and go into super interaction again. And I'm going to scroll all the way down to test globals. Test globals right here. I am going to, I think it's a trait. The female frames, all the frame traits, I think they are, yeah, I think they're traits. So I'm going to whitelist traits. Whitelist and blacklist basically means white is a yes, go ahead. Blacklist is a no, this will not pass. So select a reference. I'm going to search frame. Yes, I was correct. So any sims who have the female frame option will fit into this wig, pretty much. I'm going to... I don't need these, that's fine. So I'm just going to click on... I'm not going to click on test globals because I already have this piece of code. And if I just copied this whole thing and replaced it, I would lose all of these tests as well. So I'm going to just click on trait. I'm just going to copy the trait part. And you can see that this is a V. I'm just going to collapse that and paste that, and you can see that this is also a V. It's kind of how you know how you don't want to put you don't want to paste this like right in here, because that would just not work. It would break the entire thing. So as you read more text, you get used to it. You kind of just feel out how these things are supposed to go. So that's the only only piece of advice I have for that. Okay, so that will now uh, what's the word? Basically, only Sims with a feminine frame are going to be able to use this. So that prevents us from running into issues where Sims would put on this wig and it wouldn't fit their head correctly, because in the game the male frame head is actually slightly bigger than the female head. So this would clip with the male head, which we don't want. I'm just going to save. I'm also just going to go back into the hair object itself and try and just sort of figure out where that weird black mark is coming from. Usually it comes from the shadow. The weird stepping, the pixelation with the black, you probably have no idea what I'm doing, but yeah, that weird stepping pixelation black mark, it sort of leads me to believe this is a problem with the file format of the diffuse, but I'm just going to make the shadow blank for now, and we'll see if that works. I might actually just make this all blank and then re-import it, and we'll see if that works. I'm just going to save that, and I'm going to go back in game. Okay, so back in game, obviously either the shadow, the specular, or the normal map was causing that weird issue. You can actually still see it in the thumbnail, but this will update next time we go in game. But it's fine for now. One issue I did realize once I loaded back in game was basically, because this is a buff, it doesn't last through reloads of the game. Only traits last through reloads of the game. So a way we can make this work is, instead of looting a buff, we will loot a trait which has a buff contained in it. And because that buff is permanently on the sim until it's taken off by another loot, that buff will remain throughout reloadings of the game. So I'm going to make a trait. I'm going to change the loot to give that trait instead of the buff. And that way our wigs will stay on the Sims until we decide to take them off, and not until the game decides to take them off for us, you know. I'm glad we've got that issue sorted out. This is a lot of what modding is. A lot of people just think, you know, you create the mod in Sims 4 Studio or whatever, and you go in game and it works. But that is absolutely never the case. I don't think I've ever had that happen unless it's something extremely basic. It's always just revisions and bug fixing and everything like that. It's not for everyone. It can get quite boring, and waiting for the game to load constantly is very annoying. But that's just what modding is. Unfortunately, it's just hours and hours of going back into game and exiting out for, you know, just being in game for a couple of seconds. And but yeah, it's still very rewarding at the end of the day. But that is something you need to consider if you don't like constantly going in and out of game. You kind of have to, unfortunately. So I'm going to exit out of the game. I'm going to make the trait. I'm going to show you how I update the loot and how to correctly make a trait, a hidden trait in game. And that should work. And I think that's all I really want to do on camera for now. I will obviously finish off the mod and show it, but yeah, I will go back into Sims 4 Studio, do the last touches on camera, and then I will show you the finished mod pretty much, unless I remember something that I want to go over. But yeah, anyway, back into Sims 4 Studio for now. Okie dokie, so I'm going to want to find a hidden trait, because we don't want this trait to be able to be seen by the player in any of the Sims informations panel. So I think any will really do. It doesn't matter, because we can just delete what we don't want out of it. You'll see that this trait has also brought a sim data with it. The way I describe this in my TikToks is that they are best friends. Do not separate them. They have to be matching, you know, wearing the same clothes. That's how close they are. So just remember that they're best friends. You have to keep them together, and you have to keep them the same. So I'm going to delete persistable because it will be persistable anyway. I haven't really looked into what that is, but that's fine for now. I'm not going to update the ages on this because we already have that test on our interaction. So a baby or a child isn't going to get this trait anyway because they're not able to perform the interaction and get this loot. So it just doesn't matter. One thing that is missing is the buff, where we put our buff in. So I will go back into Tdesk browser, grab that snippet of code, and I'll put that in and we'll put our buff in. And obviously we'll change the loot as well. But for now, I'm going to make this custom. Okay, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did with the buff and the sim data, which is copy this, copy the instance, go into the sim data, paste our new instance into the sim data so they link up and they match. And I'm going to also change the name because I like doing that. Okay, so we've made a custom hidden trait now, and this will not mess up our game at all because the sim data is correct. I'm just going to save. I'm going to go into Tdesk browser, and I'm going to go into the trait section. So I'm going to type trait into here, and I'm going to find the buff section, which, yep, right here. What I should have done actually is just, I'm going to grab this buff's tuning ID and name. One really easy way to do this is to go back to the XML section and come down here to local tunings, and then I can actually just grab both the tuning ID and the note with the name in it next to it, and I don't have to type this out all myself. I use this all the time. It's extremely handy. It took me a long time to realize it was there, and I regret it, but it's much better now that I know that it's there. Anyway, I'm going to come to buffs. I don't want a buff reason. This is, if I enabled this, it would only be on a buff that is visible to the player, and this would tell them why they got the buff. So it would be they caught on fire, and they got the buff because they caught on fire, or whatever. So I'm just going to paste all of that in there, and it's automatically updated this for me. So I'm just going to click on buff right here, and I'm going to copy this piece of code. I'm going to come back to my trait right here. I'm just going to paste that in there like that. So now our trait will always add this buff, and because this trait will persist through reloading the game, your sim will always have this buff, which means they will always be wearing the wig for as long as you want them to until you take off the wig, which I will actually make another interaction to take it off as well, and I'll show you how I do that, and I'll show you how we make another loot in order to remove a trait as well. So one thing I want to do now is I want to actually loot a trait instead of a buff. So I'm going to go back to the Tdesk browser, go back to loot actions, and I'm going to search trait and trait add. So when I do the removal interaction, I will use a trait remove. And yeah, it's just very simple, pretty much. You can add the subject as an actor, but it will default to actor. So unless you're doing it to a target sim, which is this, target sim is basically whoever your current sim, who you have active, is targeting, aka talking to or engaged with. They would get the trait instead, but I don't need this. It will default to the actor anyway, so that's fine for me for now. This is where I'll put in my trait, and I'm just going to go back and grab the trait, which I'll just come down here to local tunings, grab the trait and its note with a name next to it, and I'll paste that in here. Very simple, and just, I don't want the loot actions, remember, because I already have this piece of code. I just want the trait that goes inside of it, the trait add, sorry. So back into Sims 4 Studio, I'm going to get rid of this buff, and I'm going to paste the trait in there instead. So now whenever the sim performs this interaction, and the outcome, they will get this loot, which performs this trait add action, which will add the trait to them, and this will persist over loading the game, back, saving, loading out, loading back in, etc. Because they have this trait, they will also get this buff, which is this one with our wig in it. So that will fix that issue of the wig removing itself every time you reload back into game. I'm just going to save that real quick. And I might as well, while I'm here right now, make the take off interaction. So I'm actually just going to duplicate this, give it a new instance code, because let me just show you, if I try to use the same instance code, it won't let me. So I always just just get rid of the last number and press 1, because we're going to rename this anyway, and it will create a whole new instance anyway, so it doesn't matter what we duplicate the instance as, to be honest. So I'm going to just change this to off, and you see that changed the instance and the tuning ID. I'm going to come back into object real quick, because of course I will need to add this new interaction into the object as well, because that's how you'll take the interaction off, is by interacting with the object again. Off. Now, before I change anything else, I only want this interaction to show when the sim is already wearing a wig. So I don't want them to be able to click on the object while they're not wearing a wig and see the interaction to take it off. I will also add this to my put on interaction. So what I'll do is I will tell the game, if the sim is currently wearing a wig, I do not want them to see the interaction to put the wig on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to already use, I'm going to use this, it's already here basically. So I can actually, because this gives me the option of putting more than one trait in here, I can just copy this T section. I think that stands for tunable. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a expert at XML, so I'm just going to copy that, and I'm actually going to put my is wearing the wig trait in here already. So what this means is, before this interaction shows up, they're going to test the sim, and if they have the trait of is wearing a wig, then this interaction will show up because it's whitelisted. So they will need to pass the trait frame feminine and the trait is wearing wig in order to have this interaction actually show up for them. Now, in order to come back and basically say I don't want this to show up if they're wearing a wig, I'm going to need to come back to Tdesk browser, super interaction again. You can actually add these to your favorites. I really need to do that. I just haven't gotten around to it. I always forget. Anyway, I'm going to want to come back down to test globals, and I'm going to test for a trait, and I'm not going to use whitelist this time. I'm going to use blacklist. So this says, hey, if this sim has this trait, do not show this interaction for them. They are not allowed to see this interaction. So I've already got the test globals code, so I don't need that. So I'm going to click on the trait, and it will give me the piece of code in order to blacklist the trait. Copy that. And we're already back here. I'm going to, an easy way to see if you're like in the middle of a piece of code or something, because obviously I wouldn't want to paste this right here, you can just collapse and enter, paste it. So you just have to remember, it's these little snippets of code. You don't want to interrupt these with other pieces of code. So, okay, they will only be able to see this interaction if they have a feminine frame trait, and if they do not have the is wearing a wig trait, and of course the ages. So that's just little bits extra that I needed to do for this. So we can come back here. We will address this loot in a minute, but we'll rename this first to take off wig. I'm going to copy that and come back to the hash generator. Take off wig. Take off wig 01, and I'm going to use that numbering system for the different interactions. So I'm just going to paste the FMV32 right in here, and I'm going to come back to my string table, add a new string, and put the value in. And remember to save, because there's nothing worse than thinking you've saved and wondering why your interaction shows up as a blank bubble. So okay, now all we need to do is create another loop to actually remove the wig. So I'm going to come back up here to our loops. I'm going to duplicate that again. And I'm just going to rename this part remove. Yep. And what I'm going to do is copy the tuning ID and the name, go back into my interaction, scroll down to the outcome, and paste our new loot tuning ID and name in here. Okay, so this is done now. This has been added to the object. We've renamed it, and we've put a new loot in there, which we're just about to make. So, and all of the traits, the test globals are done. So that's great. I'm just going to save real quick. I'm going to come back here into the loot, and as I was saying before, I'm going to now put a trait remove in this. So back in the Tdesk browser, go back into loot actions, trait remove, and I'm going to specific traits. You can remove traits by tags and stuff, or random. I don't know why you would use that, but yeah, traits of type. Oh, you can remove all of the gameplay traits if you want to, or all of the ghost, or all of the hidden. I've never used that. I've never had any need to use that, so I'm just going to stick with specific trait for now. I should have this. Yep. And that's our trait. Going to come back up here to trait remove because I don't need the loot actions. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to replace this trait add with the trait remove. And there we go. That will default to removing the trait on the actor because we haven't specified anything. You can specify if you want it to be removed on the actor if you'd like. All you would do is add this part, and you can see it added this piece of code right here. And you can change that to a target sim if you wanted to. You could change that to all of the sims who are currently listening to your sim, so that would be like the tell story interaction. Yeah, but we don't need that for now. So back in here, so that's working now. That will remove the traits once we perform this removal interaction. Why did I name it that? Sorry, I didn't even notice I named it put off, but yeah, it doesn't matter. That should actually all work fine now. So I'm going to go back in game, make sure I save, and I will see you when I'm in game. Okay, I'm back, and I once again have more coffee. I'm absolutely not joking when I say The Sims has given me like a raging coffee addiction, but anyway, oh fuck. Okay, I'm not entirely sure why this is showing up right now, considering my sim does not have the wig trait on. I will investigate that a little bit further, and I will get back to you on what that is. I won't do that on camera, but yeah. Anyway, for now, let's put on the wig. Hurry up. There we go. Awesome. And now I will take off the wig. See, our test on our interaction to put on the wig is working because she has the trait. It will no longer show up, but yes, I just need to go and double check the other one. So I'm going to take off the wig, and this should work. Yes, perfect. So that's the absolute bare bones of this mod. I'm going to just go back and see why the test on the take off interaction isn't working properly. I think I know why though, so it's fine. Yes, for now, I think that's all I'm going to do on camera. I will finish up the mod, and I will get back to you with the finished version. And I'll also get back to you on why the test wasn't working. So I will see you in a second. Okay, so I have a feeling I know why this didn't work. Basically, we want to have the number whitelist required, and I'm going to put that up to 2. Basically, this just means, these are empty right now, but it means that in order for this to pass, it needs both of these traits. So I'm just going to copy this little bit, and that goes right under the trait with the U in it. So right here, so it just goes right above the whitelist traits. So basically the reason this was passing before is because it was reading it and it said, oh okay, so it's passing the trait feminine, so you'll be able to see this interaction. It wasn't saying, oh, I need 2 traits in order to pass. So now what it will do is it'll read this, it'll go, okay, so I'm testing, what am I testing for? I'm testing for a trait. How many traits do I need? Oh, I need to pass 2 trait tests in order for this interaction to show up. And what are the traits that I need to pass? It is trait frame feminine, and the trait is wearing a wig. So the reason before is because it was just passing one of the traits and it was like, oh, okay, this is fine. So that should fix that now. Okay, and I will just finish up everything else and I'll get back to you. Okay, so one last thing. I'm just going through and making more interactions based on the color of the wig. But what I want to do is put a little icon next to the name of the interaction of whatever color the wig is. So I'm just going to grab the picture itself from some of these traits. So this is the blonde wig. I'm going to use the yellow color because there's not really a color for blonde. I don't think anyway, but yep, I'm just going to put that in there. I will just check. No, I don't think there is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to icon, and I'm going to copy this number here. And in order to find this, because this is base game, but I will just tell you how to find a picture and import it into Sims 4 Studio. You want to copy whatever that string of numbers was for the icon and come down to game file cruiser and pretty much just paste it in here and click all, and there we go. That's our color, and we can add it to our current package. Just close that, and there we go. We can change the instance number if we wanted to. I'm not going to do it right now, but you would name it whatever color you wanted, and then you would copy the FNV64 and paste it into the instance, and that would update the instance for the picture itself, and then you would come back to whatever tuning you wanted to use the picture for, and you would paste your new instance into here. If it was a trait, or a buff, sorry, you would also update it in the sim data. That is absolutely paramount, because if you don't update it in the sim data, it will just stay the same. It won't update at all. So I can actually delete these. Because this is base game, I can actually just use this image. I don't need to make it custom because it will show up in everyone's game. But I'm just going to delete that for a sec because I already have that copied. Because I want to put, it's called a pie menu icon, I want to put that in here, but this interaction didn't have one originally, so I'm going to need to make my own in Tdesk browser again. I'm just going to come into here, this is the super interaction again, and pie menu icon, I'm going to enable it. I'm going to search via resource key. You can do other things, Participant is another thing that's used quite often, mostly, well, pretty much just in notifications. And what that means is it just takes a little well, not a screenshot, it just takes the icon of the Sim's head, whoever is the participant in the interaction, and it will use their picture instead. I'm going to keep as resource key for now though. And it might, what I'm actually going to do is, because I need the entire string of numbers, I am going to copy this whole thing, and I'm going to paste that right in here. I'm just going to come up to Pi menu icon again and just copy, and that is how you add a little Pi menu icon, a little picture next to your string in your game, in your mod, sorry. Yeah. Hello again, it's Seb, and much later in the day, as you can see, and probably hear from my voice. Basically, I just wanted to add on something really quick. When you are done with the mod, I'm not currently done, I'm still going through and making all of the mail modifiers, but when you are done, in order to have your game show up, all of the strings show up in every single language of the game, no matter what the player has it in. So right now, this would show up in a player's game who has their language set to English, but if a French player was playing that game in French, all of the interactions would be blank. They wouldn't have any text to them at all. So what you need to do is really simple, and you just need to do this at the end of every mod. You just gotta remember to do it. Sometimes I forget. It's very embarrassing to have to update again like 5 minutes later, like, sorry guys, here's the proper strings. But you just need to come to tools, sorry about that, tools, modding, copy string tables to all languages, and that does exactly what it sounds like it does. It's just added every single string table in the game. These are all English, so they don't translate it to a different language, but it just puts the strings in every single possible language for the game, so there are no blank string tables, which is exactly what you want. You don't want to forget to do this, because you will get people telling you, hey, my interactions are blank, what's going on? This is usually the case. So yeah, I just wanted to jump in real quick before I showed the finished mod. Okie dokie, so I'm pretty much almost done on this. As you can see, I made a custom object for the wig stand. I put each color of the wig in different swatches as well, and I've finished up all of the male interactions. The only thing I have left to do is add the other 17th century hairstyle from Get Famous into this as well, because I think that would be nice too, and I'll make an object for that as well. But yeah, these all work fine and they look great in game. I'll use my male sim here, tell him to put on the dark grey wig. Oh my god, I hate that so much. Right, there you go. Awesome. So yeah, sorry, there we go, and it works all great and everything. Yeah, so I think I'm also going to, besides from adding the other hairstyles, I'm probably going to add a buff with a timer, which, because these, not traditionally, but, you know, back in the day when they would wear these, they wouldn't wash them, so I'm going to make them get dirty over time, and it'll have a negative effect on your Sim's hygiene as well. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah. I'm going to do that all off camera. These will be uploaded fairly soon. I'm probably going to upload the video first though. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say for now. Oh, if you wanted to open up my my code, this isn't it, but if you wanted to open up this when it's been uploaded and you want to like have a look through it and just go through everything I did, and yeah, just learn from it, because all of this stuff at the top is pretty much what I went through in this video. So yeah, if you just want to go through it, take bits and repurpose it for your own code, that's fine. If you just want to learn from it and just read through it, that's also fine. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'd prefer being asked on the Discord, my Discord, which I'll link below, because I'm just far more active there. I don't tend to check my YouTube comments very much, but I will try. Yeah, if you have any questions and you want to leave it here in YouTube, I will try my best to get back to you. But yeah, good luck if you do decide to try and make something. And I hope you just enjoyed this very, very long video. If you watched it all, thank you. Even if it was on 2x speed, I totally understand if it was. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the mod if you decide to download and use it. I hope it sort of adds a little bit of authenticity to historical gameplay. And besides from that, I'm just going to plug my socials for a second, because I guess I do have a lot of them now. I will link all of them up on screen. I pretty much just have the same username everywhere. I think I do actually, just on all of my social medias. I am just Lazy Neef absolutely everywhere, which is great about having the weirdest username ever, but no one ever takes it, so. But yeah, if you have pledged to me on Patreon in the past, or you are currently pledged to me, or you plan to, I just want to take this moment to thank you. It never goes unnoticed, and I am really genuinely grateful, like from the bottom of my heart, that you would think that I am worthy of that pretty much. But yeah, that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, please leave it below, and I will do my best to get back to you and help you. But yeah, that is all for today. I hope you all stay safe and have a good morning, evening, whatever it is. Currently 1:30 AM here, and I should probably go to sleep. But yeah, about that. Anyway, have a good night. Bye guys.